When you admire a world-class athlete for their ability, you also kind of hope that they're a good person outside of competition too. And with Meb Keflezighi, there is no doubt. He is a world-class runner, US Olympian, medalist, and the winner of world major marathons. But he's also well known for his personal integrity, and that's partly why we are so excited to have him running with us at the Vermont City Marathon this spring. I'm Patty Daniels on behalf of Run Vermont, and I'm here to welcome Meb to the People's United Bank Vermont City Marathon. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are here in your hometown of San Diego, and the scenery and the temperatures are pretty different than they are in Vermont, where people are going to be training all winter. What does it take to stay disciplined in training for a marathon?
Oh, we live in San Diego, we get a little spoiled. I ran so many times through here when I was in high school, San Diego High. But discipline is important, and consistency and accountability. So I know when the weather is tough in Vermont, you have to be accountable with somebody else to meet you for a run or a treadmill and things like that, because accountability to say, if you're by yourself, you might say, I can't do it, or get a little excuse. But if somebody's meeting you, you got to show up. And commitment is huge, because you got to be able to be persistent to be able to say, the hardest part about running is getting out the door. Tying your shoes and getting out the door. Once you do that, you're gonna come happier, energetic, and maybe a little cold, and then you got to have hot chocolate or something, but have fun, most importantly, as well.
Where did you learn that kind of discipline?
I think the discipline comes from my upbringing from Eritrea. I don't take things for granted. So when opportunities come, you want to kind of hold them for dear life and enjoy those moments. And high school, college at UCLA, it's all about discipline, and work hard. And you have things you want to accomplish, and you have to have a checklist. And if you're disciplined enough to do those things, and then it becomes fun at the end.
Your parents really instilled that in you.
Absolutely. My parents are my role models, because they gave up everything they had from Eritrea to have a better opportunities, not only for me, but my 10 brothers and sisters. So, when they sacrifice that much, the discipline comes from that, be able to just say, hey, I can't disappoint them, or I got to work harder, whether it's in academics, or whether it's as a cross-country team or track. So those discipline becomes a second hand. And then when I become a professional, and I try and be down as my wife and I are trying to install the same discipline to our daughters as well.
And so in your running, what did you use to motivate yourself? Did you have like a mantra, or did you use tough love? Like what did you say to yourself to keep going?
No, we all have different abilities and different talent and then motivation. For me, my motivation comes from my God-given talent. When I was in 7th grade, just like literally a mile away from here, the PE teacher said, if you run hard, you're gonna get A or a B, or if I run good for a run, you get the AF. Well, I just wanted to get A in the class, and I ran as hard as I can, and ended up running a 5:20 mile. And 6:15 was what people were expecting for a 7th grader, but he says, you're going to go to the Olympics, but I have no idea what the Olympics were, because I just came to the NSA, so I didn't know English, and I said, well, I was just looking A, and he gave me the A, and the Roosevelt High Mile Club t-shirt. So my God-given talents motivates me to get in and day out over the years for the last 27 years.
You have had a successful career by any means. I mean, you are like the premier rock star in American distance running. But you have a very specific definition of what it means to be a winner, to win a race. Describe what you think of as winning.
I always say run to win. It means not getting first place, but getting the best out of yourself at different stage. So when I was in high school, I just want to make the cross-country team. After that, I want to be able to see if I can win league. And then once I won league, I'm like, you set goals to say incrementally to say maybe CIF, which is in California, and then maybe I can make it to the state meet. And then when you get to state meet, I want to be the top freshman. You don't win the race, but you're the top freshman at 25th place. You got to be happy about that, because no other freshman, 9th grader I got ahead of you. So those goals were set that time, and that's what winning is, because you can run a personal best, and like the Vermont Marathon, and if you run your best marathon ever and you finished 1,000 something or 5,000 something, you don't have no room to complain, because that's the best that you can get that day. And for me, I learned that earliest stage of my career at San Diego, when I was at San Diego High, from the van camps who were my mentors. They said, you can finish 4th at the state meet, but you run a personal best. Do you really have room to complain? And that's how Run to Win came in formation, a philosophy. And I try to be an example for others, because you're not going to have great race all the time, but you got to be happy with the achievement that you do that for the day.
Yeah. But let's do a quick resume check.
All right.
Because you are an Olympic silver medalist. You won the New York City Marathon. You won the Boston Marathon. I mean, those are not small victories.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate. I'm the only person ever to do those three things: win a medal, the marathon, and then come back and win the New York City Marathon and the Boston Marathon. And it was not just the Boston Marathon, it was the Boston after the bombing in 2014. So it's not your typical Boston Marathon is huge, but that day was huge for all of us, especially as an Americans, because of the bombing. We wanted to do something positive, and 36,000 people wanted to do something positive to own Boylston Street, where the bombing happened, for something greater than ourselves. And I was just fortunate enough to be in the lead and be able to win it, the first American since Greg Myers in 31 years, and the oldest in 1931. So don't put a limit on yourself. Just go out there. If you have those goals, keep achieving them. But you know, Patty, I just said I just want to be the best guy in my high school team, and then eventually come to league, and then becomes the state meet, and then so I like to set goals that are attainable. Once they are achievable, I rather cross them out than never say, oh, I never achieved that, because nobody said you cannot reset your goals. Set it attainable, and you could always reset it and have fun with it at the same time.
Yeah. Let's talk about Boston for a moment, though, because I mean, everyone in the world probably knows what it means to run Boston, but it's really special for New Englanders. And I mean, that particular day, under those circumstances, it was so poignant to see you win that race.
I mean, April 21st, 2014 was, people can probably, runners especially, know where they were exactly at that point in the day. And to be able to pull that victory for me was huge. But I was there in 2013. I was so scheduled to run, but due to an injury, I couldn't complete the marathon, so I decided not to run it. But you know, I never get a chance to see how people cross the finish line. The sportsmanship. I was actually writing a speech that day, what it means, the spirit of the marathon. People falling like 10 yards from the finish line, and people help them cross the finish line, holding hands, finishing together, and all those things were just evident for me. But I never get to experience those because for drug testing or press conferences. But that day I was there for 4.5 hours, and then I left 5 minutes before the bombing because I had an appointment. So I was there as long as I can. I had people run for the foundation. So it was a beautiful day, but then catastrophic stroke, and you know. But then I said, Bonnie Ford from ESPN asked me, "Are you going to come back?" I said, "I have to come back to next year to be able to support, but I just hope to be healthy enough to win it for the people." So to be able to win for the Bostonians and for running and for the sport in general, it was just a magical moment, and it was the most meaningful victory in my career ever. You know, medal, New York, they are great, but that moment, that day was special for all of us.
What scenes do you replay in your mind from that day of winning the Boston Marathon?
Wow, that's Boston Marathon. Some of it I remember, some of it I didn't even remember because I was in the zone, and I don't remember going to the halfway point, but I remember pulling away at 5 miles, and I wrote the victim's name on my bib just to draw inspiration. I wanted to have their pictures, but to take it out at the end is going to be so much from underneath the bib, a little messy, and so I wrote with their names on my bib, but I was scared because you're not supposed to write something on the sponsors, you know. So I was very reluctant and hesitant, but I said, you know what, just write it with a Sharpie. Don't write it big like I want to, but just write it with a Sharpie, and it was visible enough. And just remember the spirit of the energy of the crowd, but also the spirit of the victim is to just say, you know what, God, give me this moment. And coming to Boylston Street, just crossing myself, I said, I know it's not over yet, but I've been dreaming this for over 365 days, and to come out, it's never over until the tape touches your chest. But it was just a thrill of a lifetime to be able to just be an American and win it for all of us. And I know my wife came and gave me a hug, a big hug, and I was depleted, but it was just epic moment for me, my wife, my people who invest in me to be the best that I can. And that was that 7th grade PE class. God-given talent. I know I was on this earth to be a runner and have impact on people. So that was a definition for me, defining moment. She just says, wow, you were here on this earth and to inspire people. And ever since I said, you know, people don't say congratulations, they say thank you, and how I have helped expedite the healing process of the bad wounds that we had in 2013. Yeah.
Was there talk among the elite American men in the race that day? Were all of you approaching that race with a different feeling or a different strategy amongst yourselves?
You know, to be an American elite, you know, you trying to do something positive because, you know, with Shalane Flanagan on the women's perspective, she gave she gave her heart and soul to it, and she just took off from the gun, and similar to what I did, but you know, she wasn't able to hold it off, and I waited 5 miles and then took off. But among the men's, you know, I sent a text to Ryan Hall in 2013. I said, after I saw the winning time, I said, before any of the bombing happened, I said, you know what, we need to do this, we need to win it. And he said, we'll get after it. But on race day, there was no really communication that I know, at least. I know there was something that was written, but for me, I wish I knew, because it would kind of relax a little bit. But I was just trying to get away as much as I can from the, you know, the marathoners that are the best of the best. It's the best assembled marathon ever at the Boston Marathon. I was the 19th fastest guy, and I had less than 1% chance of winning, but I'm glad they let me go, and I worked to my advantage. But no, it was a magical moment for all of us. You know, we support each other, encourage each other, whether it's male or female. We wanted an American to win it, and you know, I was just fortunate enough to be the person that won it for all of us.
Yeah. Several years earlier, you won the New York City Marathon. And not only did you win, but you PR'd that day, is that right?
Right, in 2009 in the New York City Marathon, it was both the US Championship and the international field. And you know, I wasn't the favorite, but I've never been the favorite anyways. But at the same time, you just go out there. I was thinking, you know, living in San Diego and training in Mammoth, I was thinking one for San Diego, one for Mammoth, one for Ryan Shea, one for me, one for the US, one for Eritrea. So I do a lot of visualization. Those are the dialogue that I have within myself, and come race day, I went for it, and you know, I usually threw a lot of leading, but Robert Chariot, who's 4-time Boston Marathon champion, kind of was pointing to, hey, take the road, it's time to share. But I'm like, no, this time it's just all about getting the finish line. And it was special for me to win that, because I started in New York in my first marathon in 2002, and I never wanted to ever again, and it was so painful. I never marathon again. My mom was there, and she said she agreed. She said, no more marathon. 5K, 10K is okay for you. But in 2009, to be able to, you know, make a move and be able to pass with Ryan Shea, my good friend who passed away during the 2007 November trials, and so there was so many things that were, and I just gave it a push, and to be able to win, it was huge for me in New York City Marathon.
That win also was a huge comeback for you personally. You were really badly injured just 2 years before your victory at the New York City Marathon. What was that training cycle like, coming back from that injury, overcoming doubt?
Well, in November of 2007, big thing happened. You know, it was the trials for 2008. You know, I was favored to win 5-1 odds, and you know, I was looking for my first victory, maybe the US Championship, second in New York, third in New York, third in Boston. I'm like, finally for victory, excited, but I think I overdid it. I trained really hard and came out with a pelvis stretch fracture, and I couldn't walk, I couldn't stand up. I was crawling like 10-month-old baby, going to hotels and things like that, just moving side to side, one step at a time. It was, I thought about retiring, you know, but then I'm like, you know what, I'm happy with my silver medal, I'm happy with the American record in the 10K. I tell my wife, you know, if it's God's will, I'm happy with it. But then internally something tells you need to work hard, and I did a 1.5 years of therapy. I didn't realize I had a pelvis stretch fracture until 10 weeks past the trials, and then I tried to come back for the 10K too fast, and, you know, and to be able to win the New York City Marathon, where it was my dream, you know, to win it, and to be able to pull it off on November 1st, 2009, and to be able to just, you know, win it and point that USA jersey that I was wearing, and it was my Olympics, so it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Was that, I mean, there have been times in your career when there were people in the running community who were counting you out, and you kept coming back with these incredible performances. What internal inspiration did you find? What external sort of like, I'm going to show you this isn't over yet? Like, what kept you going through those periods of doubt?
My life and my running journey has been all about running to overcome, you know, whether it's to overcome poverty or famine in Eritrea, and coming to the United States, overcoming language barriers, culture barriers, new environments. And comes to marathon, most people say, okay, especially after 2008, okay, he's married, has kids, it's over, and then, you know, pelvis fracture, he's done, and there's nothing coming back. But I love proving people wrong, you know. You tell me something I can't do it, I'm going to show it to you. So that's been my metaphor for a long time. Even when, you know, when I didn't have lost the sponsorship with Nike, I went 8 months without a shoe contract. But I keep coming back to what my God-given talent is, that 7th grade PE class, and say, you know what? I would still run if nobody paid me anyway. So I'm like, I still love what I do. I still believe the hard work, there's more in the body that still needs to come out and put on the list of results. And after 8 months of no shoe contract, I decided, you know what, I'm gonna come back. And everybody has the opportunity, but thank God for Skechers for giving me the opportunity. I call them the second life they gave me, and I made 2 Olympic team with them, run a personal best at New York, personal best at the trials, winning Boston, finishing 4th at Olympic Games. So, and at that point, 2008 with injuries, and 2011 with sponsorship, I thought about, contemplate about retirement. But you know what you can and can't do. Don't let others kind of put words in your mouth, or let their actions say you can't do it, because it gives you a little fire and you want to perform wrong.
You won an Olympic silver medal in 2004 in Athens, and you made your last Olympic team in 2016. I mean, that's huge longevity for a runner to be in that, in the Olympics over that distance of time. Why was it important to you to make one more Olympic team?
Any time you get an opportunity to represent your country is a huge honor. And I made my first Olympic team in 2000 and my last Olympic team in 2016. So 16 years to be, and the Olympics are every 4 years, so it's hard to make the team and it's hard to medal. But you want to be able to just do it for the honor of your country. And then also I wanted my daughters to know what their daddy did as a runner, and to take them to Rio was pretty special for me. They were in London, they didn't remember that, but being in Rio, they did remember it, and they remember the gelato visit after London. Then they actually remember where I finished 4th place, which is only 1 spot off the podium, but being in Rio was a lot of fun, and we, that kind of bond us a little bit, and also about hard work, tenacity. Age is just a number, but it's not like you don't know the numbers change, but your body changes, but you have to modify and be wiser and smarter, not just train harder. You have to modify with your body to be able to allow you to go the distance, or to allow you to recover faster. So there's so many kind of combination to make me who I am, and people a lot of behind the scenes, but at the same time, you have to make a decision. What's the other alternative? You want to be able to do it, because you can't come back in 10 years from now and say, oh, let me make an Olympic team, or let me try to do in the New York City or Boston Marathon. So seize the moment, use the opportunities the best that you can, and do it happily.
People sometimes look at runners and think that's a really solitary sport. It must be lonely out there running. But you've already alluded to how many people have been involved in making your running career possible. To describe what it means to be part of Team MEB. There's a lot of people involved.
Team MEB is very, very big and deep, and I'm the face of it, but there's so many people in San Diego and in Mammoth Lakes, where I used to live and train, who help me be who I am, from my wife to my brother, manager, and to my mentor, Bob Larson. Those are the close ones, but then there are people who just do it for the will of a good human being, that my buddy Rich Levy in San Diego, or Mario Arce, who started with biking with me, and then Sarah Chavez, and many others that when they're not present, they can help me out. But it's just fun to be able to be a face of people invest in you to get the best out of yourself, and you'll be able to help them out and be the best that you can. So it's awesome. That goes my high school. That's my high school, for sure.
The afternoon track workout for your alma mater.
Yeah.
Coming right through the park.
Been at Balboa Park. That's where they're doing a 3-5 mile run, I'm pretty sure. Or Tuesday today, but we do the 6-7 mile loop around this area, so it's nice.
And the Morley Fields cross country running is not too far from here also, yeah?
Yeah, Morley Field is also where the Foot Locker Cross Country Championship is held. It's really close to where my high school is, and I ended up getting 2nd place there to Adam Goucher back in '93. But yeah, I think, from the high school coaches to the colleges to teammates and classmates, even sometimes rivals, can be the best of friends and help you be the person that you want to be. And when I run, I hope I represent the sport to the best that I can, and purely, and be an ambassador. Or some people who competed against me in high school and college, is like they still wonder how I'm able to pull it off 20 years later. But because I see, when I do it, it's not just for me, but I try to do, people can't do it, whether they're also on wheelchairs or other thing, or sickness, then people can't do it. You get motivated by that to say, hey, my body can, and I have to do it for all of us. So that's another sort of a motivation to get the best out of yourself.
There's also just a pure joy to running. What does it feel like to you now that you're retired to just lace up your shoes and go out and run for fun?
I think running is a stress-free environment, and for me, I'm always, when I'm outside, I'm happier. And when I'm on the treadmill, getting it sometimes, that's also fine. But I think to be able to just go leisurely now for 27 years, it was like, okay, can I improve seconds? Can I improve minutes? Or can I improve places? Or can I win? Or can I qualify? So many things for the last 27 years since high school has been my goal, and go, go, go. But now to run it for leisure, for health and lifestyle is awesome. And my wife is also a runner, and our daughters are runners. So it's fun to be able to just, be happy and eat right. If you put chips in the house, it's going to be chips going to be eaten. If you put fruits in the house, it's going to be fruits going to be eaten. So we try to live a balanced life, and the girls are getting into it. So I want to, one day they want to be competitive, and I want to run half marathon or maybe marathon with them. So I have to keep that condition going. Otherwise, they're going to beat me sooner than later. That's into the back of my head.
You started the MEB Foundation to promote health and education and fitness, especially for kids, but really for the entire community. You've talked a lot about your 7th grade PE coach who first inspired you to run, and you've talked about the importance of healthy lifestyle and how your parents raised you. What do you hope the MEB Foundation can do for kids?
My coach declared from 7th grade, they used to run around here off campus and on campus, but due to budget cuts, people eliminate physical education class or music or extra curriculum. But my goal is to give back to the communities, to the schools, through the MEB Foundation, which is maintain excellent balance through health, education, fitness for young kids, because goal setting is important. We see whether it's Vermont, New York City, Boston Marathon, and others, thousands of people do it. Why? Because it's healthy. They know the benefit of exercise, but as the budget cuts goes down and down, people don't get to do that, especially now with technology. People are more with their iPads or phones and things like that. Running is something that can just transform you, that helps you goal set, and then if you can accomplish marathon or half marathon, then you feel like you can do anything. And why not start that for the young kids? You don't have to run half marathon or marathon for them, but a 5K or a mile or half mile, somewhere to start, and it will help them set goals. And then I think that will translate. I think special distance runners, their IQ is pretty high, or their grades are pretty well known at the high school and college level. So let's start the movement to help the young kids start setting goals and exercise, because exercise, I think, has a lot of benefits.
Your family came to the United States from East Africa, from Eritrea, under pretty harrowing conditions. How did that shape your approach to running, to education, to accountability? These are the themes that we've been talking about, but a lot of it came from your childhood.
Yeah, so coming from Eritrea was not an easy rope to get here. Most people I joke around, how did you get here? I tell them I ran here. But being and growing in Eritrea was difficult. There was a war that was going on, I guess, Ethiopia, that lasted for 31 years. And the whole thing is on Run to Overcome, autobiography that can tell you the details. But my dad has to walk 225 miles to save his life. Otherwise, he's going to get in prison or killed by the Ethiopian soldiers. And so my mom had the courage to tell him, you're better off just leaving the country. And he made it in 7 days. Last time I checked, I think that's 31 miles a day. So it's a marathon a day, not knowing where he's going to end up. Just know he's going to go to Sudan and bag up barley, $25, matches, a canteen of water, and stick for protection, nothing else, and $25. And it's survival, and when you have the survival, you want to be able to just, get the best out of yourself. And so my dad, it wasn't even the 225 miles, but what he was leaving behind, a wife and 5 kids and 1 on the way. And, they made a commitment to each other that I hope to make it a safe land. If the baby is born, call him Be'imnet, or Amina, which means with belief. And that belief came true. On October 21st, 1987, we came to the beautiful San Diego, United States. And our parents gave us a serious discussion, says, we didn't have these opportunities. Your cousins don't have this opportunity. Your uncles don't have this opportunity. So don't waste it. Make sure you work hard. You want A, E. A as an outstanding student, E as excellent citizenship. So other than that, nothing was accepted, But through hard work, my dad woke us up at 4:30 a.m. in the morning could learn English before we went to school through the dictionary, word by word, one word at a time, and things like that. But you know, my oldest brother, who started 9th grade here at Roosevelt Junior High, he said he got the most outstanding student, and that gave the hope of that. See, hard work does pay off, and you know, I got my silver medal and things like that, but that trophy was well displayed on top of the TV. So you know, it's through perseverance, hard work, patience, and accountability, because you know you have this opportunity that others don't have. You want to maximize it the best you can, and that's what I try to do with my running. For a long time it was, okay, this is a unique opportunity. I'm getting paid to be fit, but at the same time represent my city, my state, my country, and being able to do that in the 4 Olympic team, and then also New York and Boston and other marathons has been a delightful and a wonderful job. But at the same time, you know, tenacity and hard work, and never give up, because that opportunity don't want to be wasted. And even if you're hurting badly, you know, I was, especially in London, where I finished 4th place, I was in 21st place. I was going to drop out, but then I said, well, I'm wearing that USA jersey, I'm representing our country, get to that finish line no matter what, no matter how many people come and pass you. I didn't think I was going to improve, but I ended up getting 4th place.
So when you come to visit us in Vermont, you're going to notice, I think, that in Burlington especially, there is a really vibrant community of people who came to Burlington as refugees from Somalia and Sudan and Congo. And I'm just curious, you do so much traveling around the country. Do you feel like a special kinship when you interact with people who you know came here under similar circumstances that your family did?
Almost definitely, you know, to be in Burlington, Vermont, and meeting some of the refugees maybe would be a great honor, because you know, you can instill some of the hardship that they're going to encounter, or overcome the language barrier, or connect with the community, or assimilate there. But yeah, for me, what I love about running is no barrier. For me, I don't care if it's what ethnicity, what religion, what your bank account is, what you believe that you have. You're a runner to me, and that's, I think, the beauty of our sport, because you can run 13.1 or a marathon, and you're a finisher, you're a champion, you are in your own way. Or so, no barriers for me. But it's always, you know, to give tips to first-time marathoners, or to give refugee or immigrant tips about life in general is always delightful, because I've been there. You know, whether it was my first marathon, where I say this is my first and last, I never want to do it again, or on the immigration part as a refugee, you know, the struggle that you come over, the language barrier. You know, I wasn't confident enough to raise my hand to ask questions in the class until probably I was in 9th grade. So those things are good, and to be able to share with them. But also, how do you assimilate, you know, the community? And there's so many great people that help us be who we are. You know, embrace the culture, embrace the new community that you're in, and you know, we help each other learn from our differences. And I think that's a beautiful thing, because there's some people that I text a text just 2-3 days ago with my friend Heather Anderson. She went to school with me, but her parents will embrace us. I'm still in touch with the van camp, who used to drive us around and help me. I didn't have a computer, so I would go to their house and help out with the computer. So there's so many things that we can learn, and they've been the light for me, the people that have been there every step of the way, from the coaching point and other things. So it's fun to be able to interact with people. I think I really do enjoy it, and it's fun, and I hope to make a difference, because they look up to you and as a runner, but there's so many other things that involve around that.
Do you want to give any advice to young runners who are going to be maybe doing the full distance in Vermont, maybe doing part of a relay? Like, what advice do you have? How do you know if you're a young runner with talent, what road you should put yourself on?
Well, to be a runner is a different kind of talent, and I think I like the relay part of it for young kids, because you can get them involved, you know, whereas I'm not a fan for full marathon early in the stage, because I didn't do my personal lead until I was 27. I didn't have to wait that long, but at the same time, emphasize on speed, 5K, 10K, half marathon for a long run is okay, but a marathon takes a lot of toll, and especially if you're especially young with growth and bone development and stuff like that. But my advice is emphasize on speed and have fun, and join a club or team, because then that way you can help each other, support each other, because it can be a lonely sport if you're on your own. But when it's raining or snowing or hot, and then you'll be able to just have that friendship, that little talk. Maybe for 3 miles you might have to run another 3 miles on your own, but that 3 miles was a pleasant one to start with.
You said your first marathon, you were going to be one and done. You never wanted to revisit that pain again. And we know you did. What flipped the switch for you? What made you want to come back and try a second marathon?
So I did my first marathon in 2002, New York City Marathon, and I went for the win, and I wasn't reluctant about it. At the time I trained, I got it down to 4 people. I said, oh, best scenario, I got fourth place, and then there's room for improvement. I can still win this, but then I think it was cold water, 38 degree. I don't like being cold, and I threw some water in my head as I got warmed a little bit, and I shut the engine off, and I started losing ground. I hit the wall. It was a magic wall, and I hit it on my first one. And I tell people I got my PhD on my first marathon. I said, never again. But I went back to Eritrea with my mom for the first time after immigrating from Eritrea. Maybe 17 years later, and I saw how people were living. Going to get to the well to get water, to carry it home, and then to go to 2-3 miles to get branches or woods for fire. And I said, you know what, that temporary discomfort that I went in the last 10K was nothing compared to those people that go day in, day out. So that's the reason I came back doing another marathon.
And you just recently took your entire family back to Eritrea, is that right?
Yes. Summer of 2016, my wife, Jordanos, and our daughter, Sarafir and Johanna, went to Eritrea for 2 months. Thank God to Jordanos, because I want to do it after I retire officially. But it was a pleasant trip. We'll be able to spend some time, learn about our roots. Both Jordanos and I were born in Eritrea, so they still have relatives, uncles, cousins, and grandma, great-grandma on Jordanos' side, maternal, that was there. So we were able to visit with them and visit her village, visit my village, my dad's village, my mom's village. So it was quite a pleasant trip, and 2-month survival. But at the same time, I think it was more educational for the kids, make sure they take a grasp of what they have here, so hopefully they can work harder, because they only know what they know in the U.S. So traveling overseas has been one keynote for us to help them develop as a human being.
So for fans who watched the London Olympics, and you referred to being, pretty far back in 21st place, and you were contemplating whether you should stay in the race or not stay in the race. And you finished that race in 4th place. It's a huge gain that you made over the last miles. Describe what happened over the course of those last 10K that changed you. What was going on in your mind that pulled you up to almost the podium that day?
So to make my 3rd Olympic team, now going to Beijing and going to London for the Olympics was a huge deal for me. And I started out really well, but it was hot, and the cobblestones were beating my feet up, and I already signed up that I was going to do New York City Marathon, and so I was drifting from the lead all the way to 21st halfway, and I'm like, well, there's no chance of getting top 10 or a medal, so which I was confident going in, but I was having trouble. So I'm like, you know what, this is a good place to drop out, because some people ask me, do you enjoy the scenery when you run? I'm like, absolutely not. I'm thinking about competing, but that day did cross my mind. I'm like, I should just stop, save my energy for New York, and then drop out this cathedral, But then I'm like, you know what, you're wearing the USA jersey that says USA on it, and that I proudly wear, and then my family and friends who were 49 deep, that were at the finish line. I'm like, you know what? That's not my best dropping out, so no matter you got to get the finish line no matter how many people pass me by. Or I wasn't thinking I'm going to pass people, but positive thinking. I said, no matter how many people pass you, just get the finish line, and picked up little by little, and then I got from 21st to 18 to 15 to 10, and then 5K left. My mentor Bob Larson was in the field, pointed out 6 fingers because it was very crowded. He just said 6, and I'm like, well, I can see the Japanese guy next to me. I'm like, well, if I can beat him, I'll be in 5th. And then 2 miles left in the race, I see a green jersey. I said, well, my New York experience, that guy hit the wall and he's going to come hard. So I'm like, I should try to catch him. And then I caught him with 500 meters left. 500 meters left. I'm like, the Santos was his name from Brazil. I said, you know what? I just pushed it. And then I decided, well, should I grab the flag? And I'm like, grab the flag. And I grabbed the flag. I want to run like this. But then I'm like, you need your hand because the guy's trying to catch you again. So I'm like, tack it in and then try to run. And the finish line was not as elaborate as the Boston or New York City Marathon. It was a little line. I'm like, where's the finish line? And I finally crossed the finish line. So that race gave me a huge boost of confidence to overcome adversity, because I could have DNF or did not finish and none of this would happen. And that was the reason why I got invited to the Boston Marathon. So it's a ripple effect. And because of that, I was now the Boston Marathon champion. But you know, when you seize the moment, sometimes you hurt him really, really, really bad, and you want to give up. And that's, some people think that's like one of my highlight of Olympic Games, not the silver medal, but that 4th place, because you know, the tenacity, not giving up, and be able to overcome so many adversities and be able to finish 4th place.
You were in as much pain in those last miles as you were when you were back in 21st place. You just decided to deal with it differently.
Absolutely. So positive thinking, you know, when you think your mind something, you say, like, just like, you know, retirement, I was thinking retirement, but I didn't retire, and then so many fruitful happen. And then the same thing this, you know, you at one point you're like, you know what, I'm just gonna stop here and get ready for New York. And then New York ended up being canceled because of Hurricane Sandy. So, but by being in the moment, say, you know what, I'm gonna go to the finish no matter what. That's positive thinking. Now you're thinking, okay, there's 7 guys, and like, maybe I could be one of these guys. And then you beat that person, past person, maybe I could be 2, maybe I could be 3. So it's constant improvement and dialogue that you have within yourself. It's like, maybe I could be the champion of this group. There's 8 of us, I'm beating those guys. And then all of a sudden it's like, when I saw that 6 fingers, there's another goal set. And so, you know, you want to push and push. So I think it's positive thinking, knowing that you're going to go to the new goal, whereas before was, I'm going to the race for a medal or for a top 10 finish. And then when you fall out of that place, you have to retrieve yourself back to being in the competitive stage.
Okay, let's do a quick lightning round.
All right.
Okay, favorite time of day to run?
Morning.
Favorite dessert?
Cheesecake or tiramisu.
Ice bath, love it or hate it?
Hate it.
Tweeting, do you do your own tweeting?
I do my own tweeting.
Nikes or Skechers?
Skechers, 110%. That's good. It was about the last about Skechers. Thank you. You roll. You rock.
We have 8,000 runners joining us at the People's United Bank Vermont City Marathon Memorial Day weekend. Leave us with just a massive dose of inspiration for those runners. What does it feel like to cross the finish line of a race that was really important to you?
You know, Vermont City Marathon runners, you did it, because the hardest part is the training. Getting across the finish line is ceremony. So enjoy the journey. It's a victory lap of 13.1 miles or 26.2, because you have earned, you have worked hard and put in a lot of hours, a lot of mornings, and a lot of treadmills potentially. So now it's a celebration for the journey of a half marathon and full marathon. Getting to that finish line is a magical, and some of you might have thought, me, marathon, never, would have thought, but now you're accomplishing your goals, and maybe it's your first time, maybe it's your 10th time, or how long you've been doing it, but it's a celebration of life, and you're gonna feel great about yourself and the people around you, because you are positive energy. And finishing a marathon, whether you are the middle of the pack, the back of the pack, getting that journey is just a huge congratulations, and I'm very proud of you guys. And I don't want to do my first, after my first marathon, I said, this is first and last. I never want to do it again. And some of you might feel that way on Monday or Sunday, but guess what? Give it a couple of weeks, you're gonna be back. And you might want to qualify for Boston and things like that. So that's how we started. Not a block, I can't go block, you go to a mile, and then it's not 5K, no, 10K, and then half marathon, and you eventually do a marathon. And like, well, I think I could do better, and then you get a bug. So keep on running strong.
Awesome. Meb Keflezighi, U.S. Olympic medalist, winner of the Boston and New York City Marathons. Thank you so much for joining us in Vermont this spring and for your time today. We appreciate it.
Thank you to Vermont for having me, and congratulations on all that you guys have done. Keep on running strong. We inspire, encourage each other, and it's a beautiful sport that we have. We run together. See you on Memorial Day weekend.
May 27th, we'll see you at the Vermont City Marathon.